Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. So maybe you've clicked this video and you're expecting to get some zombies gameplay, but now you've just got my ugly mug talking to you. Well, have no fear, I am going to be talking about zombies, and without further ado, I will dive straight into the topic at hand. But it's obviously not going to be gameplay, it's going to be me discussing the actual intricate sort of details slightly, that's the wrong word, the intricate details of the zombie storyline. So I'm going to be talking specifically about a certain element of Origins that a lot of people seem to be confused over. So someone tweeted Jimmy Zielinski, okay, with this tweet. So they said, so, what do you have to say for the loose ends that never got tied up or the lost story plots? Will this be explained? Sorry, it's there, I was too low. Jimmy says, huh? Can you list them for me? I then say, Scumbag Jimmy uses imaginary world to explain already imaginary world and some other stuff, but the point I'm getting at here, because there were then some questions, and this guy whose name is Archer Crash, he was tweeting Jimmy, and when Jimmy responded saying, can you list them, he started listing things. Like he said, what happens to the new 4? What happens to the old 4? I don't consider these loose ends. And there's a very good reason for that. With Origins, when Origins came out, it was pretty mind-blowing, because there was so much stuff on the map that didn't initially make sense. And there has been so much stuff that hasn't made sense over the years, it's piled up, that a question like, where are all these loose ends, what are all these contradictions, where are they going to go, what are they going to mean, is, you would initially think to be a very viable question, very logical question. However, we then, me and my team, we get to the ending cutscene first, I get really emotional because I see that this crazy ending completely turns on its head what we have previously known as the zombies storyline, because this almost is not the zombie storyline. This is Samantha's zombie storyline. This is perhaps Eddie's zombie storyline. And it's very, very interesting because we now have this point where Treyarch can literally go in any direction. Now, a lot of YouTubers have said, okay, so we're going into this real world, obviously, and the next game will take place there. You can't make that assumption. You simply don't know that. For all we know, that cutscene could have been a dream. The Samantha in the world that we knew from Black Ops 1 and World at War, that Samantha could have been dreaming that cutscene, and she could have created an imaginary world in her head, which was not the storyline that we know, but was the new storyline, and so it could be flipped around like that. There are so many possibilities as to how it could play out. It's foolhardy to try and say, yes, it's definitely this, that, or the other. There may be some that are more likely than others. God, I can't speak. But there are so many possibilities. You can't rule any out. So what I want to say now is the fact that people are saying, okay, so we've had the Origins cutscene, that means zombies is over. No, don't get that impression. I know a lot of people have already told you that. I want to make it extremely clear. I want to reinstate the fact that zombies is not over. It will not be over. They would not end a franchise that makes them so much money, or an IP or whatever you want to call it. That just would be illogical. And also I want to say that with all these things that haven't been cleared up, so for example, you want to know why there are statues of the 04, the original 4, Nikolai, Dempsey, Takeo, Richtofen, why they have statues in the chamber in Origins, okay? Now, someone might say, well, it's a loose end, it's never going to get tied up, what are they going to do about that? I would respond with, well, if they bring out another game with zombies in it, which I would bet all the money I own on happening, if they do that, what's to stop them from going back in time, as they have done so many times, and making a map with the 04, for example, pre-Shangri-La? What's to stop them doing that? What is to stop them making a map, maybe, with the 04 just after Moon, for example? Things like that. So what I'm essentially getting at here is that Treyarch can literally go anywhere they want. It doesn't matter if it makes sense, because potentially it's all imaginary. If it's not imaginary, it can still not make sense, because they've done it so many times in the past, it's evident that they don't give a fuck. So, Treyarch have, for all intents and purposes, two options here. Make sense, but make it imaginary, so they can not make sense and it will still make sense. Option 2, don't make sense, because sense doesn't need to be made for a reason that we may not be aware of, or they just don't care about making sense. I know it's a little hard to sort of get your head around that, but it's the idea of asking someone like Jimmy Zielinski saying, okay, Jimmy, you're creative lead for zombies, what are you going to do about the loose ends? They could very well just answer your questions in the next game. Or they could say, well, it's imaginary, it's in Samantha's head, and so they aren't loose ends. They're simply figments of her imagination. It doesn't need to make sense, because it's all in her head. They could very well do that. Now, for that reason, Treyarch have played this ace of spades on the table of the zombie storyline, and that's why I think it's so smart the way Origins ended, and it's why I got so excited, and it's summed up by what I said. Scumbag Jimmy uses imaginary world to explain imaginary world. We have this storyline that Treyarch have created, and it's got some contradictions, and we want to know why. Now, a perfectly logical person might say, well, because Treyarch made it up, you can't expect them to be perfect. A diehard Zombies fan might say, well, it should be perfect. We deserve nothing less than perfect, so why isn't it perfect? And to that person, I would respond with, well, maybe it is, because if it is all a dream, if it's all in her head, it doesn't need to make sense. And so what Treyarch did is they gave themselves that opportunity. They used an imaginary world, the world in Samantha's head, to explain the imaginary storyline that we have had crafted by Treyarch. This actually links into something that I then tweeted Jimmy when he responded. Jimmy then said, it's how I was raised, and I responded with, no, it's how she was raised. Born to be creative, literally. Born from your mind for that very reason. So that is an example of myself using the presumption that there is a world in Samantha's head and a real world, and the world in her head is the storyline that we know and love. Because what I'm saying there is Samantha came out of Jimmy's mind, she was raised, she was literally created in order to be dreaming up this world, which we now know as a zombie storyline, and that is literally her purpose. Like, they could make an entire storyline now about the fact that she can dream up these magical things, and how they need to, like, control that or something, and they could very easily do that. I mean, interestingly, that's kind of what they actually did with the original storyline. And so it links in there, and that's another loop, and the wonderful loopiness of the storyline, again, loops back on itself in very loopy a fashion. I'm standing on one leg right now. Just, the storyline is so, and by the way, I always get, whenever I make a video about zombies, people saying, hey, make a video about the storyline. Make a video about the whole storyline. The storyline isn't finished. It won't ever be finished, and there will always be questions. And so I think it's folly to basically say, right, I'm going to make a video about the whole zombie storyline, because people have done that before. I've read numerous zombie storylines that have literally been like book length, and I've watched videos of zombie storylines and stuff, and they all suck, because they say something, and then Treyarch bring out Origins, and it's all a dream, and so everything that person said in all 17 of their videos is suddenly wrong, or at least misplaced. And so it's completely silly to go, okay, I'm going to make a zombie storyline video. Like, that's like saying, right, I'm going to make a video explaining the first half of Harry Potter, but I'm only going to read the first half. And so all the stuff that you read in book 1 that is so relevant in the later books, which does happen, J.K. Rowling did that very well, you will miss out on completely. And so, yeah, you'll get a rough, shadowy idea of what happened at the beginning, but there'll be loads of loose ends, as Treyarch have given us anyway. So there are even more loose ends. You've got split ends with split ends. And so it all becomes a bit of a mess. Anyway, I just wanted to make a video. I felt inspired because of this guy, Archer, who was tweeting Jimmy, and then Jimmy responded, and I was like, hey, maybe I should address this. So hopefully this has been useful to you in some way, shape, or form. I've missed? Oh dear. I've been MrRoflWaffles. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video. If you have, leave a like. If you haven't, leave a why in the comment section down below. If you were here at the beginning of the video, wanting zombies gameplay, and are still here now, then chances are you've been entertained throughout the video, so thumbs up to me, bish bash bosh, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, see you later guys, bye bye, Origin!